All right, welcome to a YouTube live here on a Thursday morning, sunny Thursday morning in the Bay Area. Actually, it's not morning. I mean, I scheduled this thing at noon, so that by definition means it's not morning. Welcome. Tell me who's here and where you're from. I'd like to kind of get a lay of the land as we get going here, and I'll just do this for however long seems appropriate. So once again, thanks for deciding to spend your Thursday afternoon with me. Hello, Sacramento. Hope all is well in Sacktown. Hayward, of course. Formerly the Hayward Daily Review. Never worked for the Hayward Daily Review, but went there many a times back in the day. East Coast, the East Coast of Canada. Nice. Thank you, Lori. That's awesome. Charlotte, North Carolina, Los Banos, Portland. Wow, we got a great mix of 49ers fans, I would assume, from all across the United States here and Canada. Phoenix, Justin Phoenix last week, obviously. Didn't do a whole lot when I was in Phoenix. Flew in Saturday. I had a kind of Sweden. Wow. Yeah, I had a kind of under the weather, had a bad cough, wasn't feeling great. So pretty much went to my hotel room in Phoenix, walked across the street later in the day to pick up a pizza, and went to the game the next day, went back to the hotel. Tulsa, Oklahoma. Love it. That's interesting. So as pizza from where? Hanny's, downtown. Do you know it? Hanny's? First time I was in Charlotte, I wasn't in Charlotte for very long. It was the 1995 season, Panthers expansion year, and the 49ers and Panthers played at Clemson. And what I remember is that was Dwight Clark obviously went to Clemson, and so he was the general manager at the time. So drove to Greenville, South Carolina, spent the night there, or spent 2 nights there, I guess, and then from there went to Clemson. So that's my first Charlotte memory, and then of course the next year they were in the downtown stadium. Okay, so we got DC is in the house, Walnut Creek, Reading, now in Reading. Okay, Joy. I grew up in Corning. I think I've told you that before. Salt Lake City, Baltimore. Awesome. Okay. All right. So the headline on this YouTube Live is players to watch for this weekend as the 49ers get into their offseason. They, let me see here. I just sent out a couple text messages to see what's going on. No word of any interviews yet that the 49ers are having. Obviously, they started the offseason with vacancies at defensive coordinator and special teams coordinator. The day of the end of season press conference, they filled their offensive coordinator position only to not fill it because they didn't go through the proper channels. So they have 3 openings, really 2. We all know that Clay Kubiak's going to be getting the offensive coordinator position. And the reason we know that is because they're creating that for him. He took on the duties of the offensive coordinator over the past couple of years. And so he will be the guy, but 49ers are going through the process of getting to meet some of the the young coaches out there available for that spot. Tracy in the house. Yeah, so the question, any interviews today? Nothing that I know of, but something could happen later in the day. Question, do I suspect they've been conducting any unannounced interviews? Maybe. But it's probably been more informal interviews, maybe Kyle Shanahan or John Lynch reaching out to people, just kind of gauging their interest, seeing where they are as far as the attractiveness of the job and everything else. So there's obviously a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and then the formal interviews they've announced. The ones they haven't announced, which I don't think they have to. I don't think they have to announce any of these interviews, but based on what he said during his end of season press conference, Nick Sorensen is a candidate for the special teams coordinator, and Brandon Staley is a candidate for the defensive coordinator. Those are two guys from the staff that Kyle Shanahan said would be considered for those openings. I'll answer some questions later, stuff that pops out at me. What I wanted to kind of go through with this, the headline on this live YouTube, is just, there's going to be 8 teams in action over the weekend. Where are the 49ers as far as, are there any guys on these teams that would be considered candidates for them to sign as free agents? And yeah, I think there are. In the big name guy, there are some guys who have been with the 49ers that I believe the 49ers would welcome back to their organization. Guys who probably shouldn't cost a whole lot of money. And I'm thinking of Emmanuel Mosley. Just didn't work out with Detroit. He's been injury plagued. He's an unrestricted free agent. I don't think he'll cost much money. For the Washington Commanders, a couple of defensive linemen, Cleveland Ferrell and Sheldon Day, guys who spent time with the 49ers who could be rotational pieces. In the case of Cleveland Ferrell, I think the 49ers defense really dropped off as far as the run defense for the 2023 postseason. So January of 24, when Ferrell was injured in the final game of the regular season. So, those would be the names. But I think what the 49ers would be looking for more than anything would be special teams contributors. I mean, I think that's one area where, they haven't had, as my dog is going crazy over here. What's going on? Come on. Come up here. Come on. You want to come up here? Come on. Come on. What's going on? Apparently, the dog doesn't like me doing a YouTube live. Also, I haven't walked her in a while. But when you look at where the 49ers are from the standpoint of special teams, that's the area where I think they could use help. And it's not going to be the flashy name. Here's one name. This guy's on IR. We're not going to see him kick. But when you're looking at guys the 49ers could bring in to compete with Jake Moody in the offseason, do a deep dive on this guy, Spencer Schrader. He was with the Chiefs. They signed him when Butker missed some games. He did very well on touchbacks. He's kicked around the NFL a little bit. That would be the kind of guy that I could see the 49ers bringing in. They're not going to sign a veteran, give him much guaranteed money, anything like that. They're not going to go get a proven guy, a guy who's, they're going to get some, I think, under the radar kicker to compete with Jake Moody. And I think Spencer Schrader is a guy. Just kind of keep an eye on that one. So Houston plays Kansas City. What I'm looking at there, guys like safety, MJ Stewart, a linebacker, Neville Hewitt, another linebacker, Delshon Phillips. Those are the kinds of guys that I think the 49ers need more veteran, experienced special teams players. And that's an area where they can focus. When I look at, here's a position the 49ers could look at either in the draft or in free agency, fullback. And, I know it's kind of sacrilegious to talk about life after Kyle Juszczyk because he's been a Pro Bowl player every single season he's been with the 49ers. But let's face it, last offseason, they were prepared to move on from him. They demanded that he take a pay cut. The pay cut still enabled him to be the top paid fullback in the NFL. So he begrudgingly accepted that. But as the season ended, he wasn't certain whether he'd be back for the 2025 season. So what about Patrick Ricard, a 31-year-old, known as a very good fullback? Where did the 49ers get their last fullback? Kyle Juszczyk, got him from the Baltimore Ravens. Another guy who's a fullback and a special teams player from Buffalo, Reggie Gilliam. Again, I think the special teams aspect of this is important. When I look at Philadelphia, the game on Sunday, the morning game, Rams against the Eagles, I think the 49ers could look to bring in a nickelback, a proven nickelback, someone who has experience. He lost his job basically to Cooper DeJean, but Avonte Maddox is somebody who could provide that nickelback, at least backup for the 49ers. Probably wouldn't have to spend a whole lot of money to get him. I just don't know what the 49ers want to do with Diamador Lenore. Do they like that? And I think, he's very effective in playing outside in base situations and bumping inside to play nickel. But, if they get a guy, they went out and got Chase Lucas last year, who I believe was not tendered as a RFA by the Lions. So that's an area where the 49ers could look in the draft, a day 3 pick on a potential nickelback or somebody like Avonte Maddox. And as far as the Rams go, on a YouTube live a couple days ago, I talked a lot about their depth on the defensive line. I would assume because they have so many young guys on that defensive line that the Rams won't be, they could let some of their defensive linemen leave as free agents. So here's 2 names to keep an eye on when I think of the Rams defensive linemen. Michael Hoyt, 13 sacks in his 4-year career. And also Neville Gallimore, the defensive tackle. And basically, Gallimore is the only guy the Rams went out and got in free agency. He was an unrestricted free agent from Dallas. And now, here he is. He played 27 snaps in the Monday night game against the Vikings. When you look at what the Rams have done with their defensive line, it's impressive. In the game on Monday against the Vikings, where they sacked Sam Darnold 9 times. Byron Young had 56 snaps. Jared Verse had 52. Kobe Turner had 40 snaps. Braden Fisk had 35. Neville Gallimore, 27. Tyler Davis, 20. Desjuan Johnson, 18. Bobby Brown, 13. Michael Hoyt, 32. So the 49ers have tried more than probably they should to get free agents, unrestricted free agents as for backup, for rotational players on their defensive line. So those are some of the names and areas where the 49ers could look to free agency. But remember, I don't expect them to be big players in free agency because of, the money that they're going to have tied up elsewhere in the roster. Their big splash in free agency 2 years ago was Javon Hargrave. And as it turned out, that wasn't money well spent because he played the full season with them, made it to the Pro Bowl, but then injured in the 3rd game and out for the season with a torn triceps and, has more than likely played his